Olivia Parker, once a vibrant and ambitious woman, now found herself walking the halls of Maple Mansion, her spirit weighed down by the betrayal she had suffered. Just months ago, her life had been on a different path. But after being framed by a scumbag and a woman she once trusted, Olivia was thrust into a world she could never have imagined. A world where the price of survival was marrying into the notorious Johnson family. The Johnsons were a powerful dynasty, feared and respected throughout Maple City. But their youngest son, Lucas Johnson, was a mystery. Rumors about him swirled like a dark cloud over the mansion. They called him insane, scarred from an accident no one spoke about, and cruel in ways no one dared describe aloud. They said every woman who had married him had vanished on their wedding night, never to be seen again. And now, Olivia was his bride. On the day of the wedding, Olivia's pale reflection stared back at her from the gilded mirror in her room. Dressed in an ivory gown, she felt like a prisoner, her wrists shackled by the weight of fate. Her mind raced with thoughts of escape. Perhaps she could flee during the ceremony or slip away after the party. But as she descended the grand staircase into the ballroom, her heart sank as she saw Lucas for the first time. He stood at the end of the aisle, his face shrouded beneath a thick black veil. His tall, imposing figure was dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, but his hands trembled ever so slightly. Olivia felt her stomach churn. She had heard that his temper was unpredictable, and she had no desire to find out if the rumors were true. After the ceremony, Olivia was escorted to her new chambers in the mansion. The room was cold, dark, and silent. From the moment she entered, Olivia had made up her mind. She had to escape. But each attempt was futile. Every time she tried to flee, Lucas's loyal servants brought her back, her pleas falling on deaf ears. One evening, as she sat on the balcony overlooking the vast, empty grounds of Maple Mansion, Lucas appeared behind her. His voice, low and measured, made her shiver. "You can try to escape all you want, but there's no leaving this place. As long as you give me an heir, Olivia, I will protect you. You will be untouchable in Maple City." For a moment, Olivia considered his words. Could this be her way out? She had vowed to seek revenge against those who betrayed her, and with Lucas's protection, perhaps she could do just that. But the thought of bearing a child for him made her skin crawl. Who was this man behind the veil? Why had no one ever seen his face? Weeks passed, and the mansion's shadows began to weigh on Olivia. Lucas was distant, always watching, but never speaking more than necessary, until that fateful night. That night, the mansion was eerily silent. The storm outside raged, rain pelting the windows with fury. Olivia stood in the center of their shared room, her heart pounding. She couldn't bear it any longer. She had to know who Lucas truly was. Was he the monster everyone claimed? With trembling hands, she approached him. He stood by the window, the veil still hiding his face. Before he could stop her, Olivia reached up and tore it away. Her breath caught in her throat. Lucas was not the disfigured monster she had imagined. His features were sharp, his jaw strong, his eyes piercing, but filled with a quiet torment. Scars marred his skin, but they did not hide his true beauty. It was not his appearance that made him a monster. It was the pain he had buried for years. Olivia realized the truth. Lucas had been hiding himself, not from her, but from the world that had judged him so harshly. The real monster was the weight of expectations and betrayal that had shaped his life. In that moment, something shifted between them. Olivia saw him for who he truly was, a broken man seeking redemption. And in Lucas's eyes, she saw a flicker of hope. Perhaps they were both trapped by their pasts, but together they could carve a new future. "Now you know," Lucas whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. "This is why I hide." Olivia stepped closer, her fear melting away. "I don't care about the scars. I just want the truth." And for the first time since she had arrived at Maple Mansion, Olivia felt the heavy chains of her circumstances begin to loosen. Revenge would come, but in time. For now, she would play the game, but on her terms. Few weeks after the night, Olivia uncovered the truth about Lucas. The weight of the veil was gone, but the burden of revenge still sat heavy on her shoulders. Each day that passed within Maple Mansion, she schemed, her mind sharpening like a blade. The people who had betrayed her would pay, and now, with Lucas at her side, his power and protection, she was ready to strike. Late one evening, as Lucas sat in his study, Olivia approached him with a request. "I need your help," she said, her voice steady but laced with determination. Lucas looked up from his desk, his blue eyes dark with curiosity. "With what?" "I want to destroy them. David Reynolds and Claire. They're the ones who sold me into this marriage. I need to make them pay." For a moment, Lucas remained silent, his fingers tracing the edges of a letter on his desk. Then, a slow smile spread across his face. "Consider it done." The scumbag who had framed her, David Reynolds, had always been after her family's dwindling fortune. He and Claire, the cheap, deceitful woman who had once posed as her friend, had orchestrated her downfall, leaving Olivia to marry Lucas in disgrace. They had thought her weak, a puppet in their game. But Olivia was no longer the fragile woman they had abandoned. One evening, while Lucas was away on business, Olivia received a letter. Its contents chilled her. A secret gathering, an elite event in Maple City, attended by all those who thought themselves above the law. David and Claire would be there, basking in the glory of their deceit. This was her moment. With Lucas's influence, Olivia had arranged for a private entrance. She would attend this gathering, not as the disgraced bride they had left behind, but as the wife of the feared and powerful Lucas Johnson. The city's elite would soon see her not as a victim, but as the orchestrator of their downfall. Dressed in a sleek black gown, her eyes gleaming with determination, Olivia entered the lavish hall. The whispers began the moment she arrived. "Isn't that Olivia Parker? She's supposed to be miserable, trapped in that mansion." Little did they know, Olivia had become a master of the game. The lights of the chandelier sparkled above, casting a golden hue over the crowd. As Olivia scanned the room, her eyes locked on her prey. David stood near the bar, laughing with a circle of wealthy businessmen, and Claire, looking smug in a scarlet dress, was by his side, the picture of false elegance. Olivia moved toward them like a predator, stalking her prey. Every step was deliberate, every glance calculated. The chatter in the room faded as she approached, the tension palpable. David's laughter stopped abruptly as he noticed her, a flicker of fear crossing his face. "Well, well, if it isn't Olivia," Claire purred, her lips curling into a mocking smile. "I didn't expect to see you here, darling. How's life as Mrs. Johnson?" Without a word, Olivia stood her ground, her gaze piercing. She had no need for pleasantries, no time for their petty games. David shifted uncomfortably, clearly unnerved by her silence. "I came to collect what's mine," Olivia said, her voice cold and firm. Claire's smile faltered, confusion spreading across her face. "What are you talking about?" In that moment, the entire room seemed to still, the crowd watching the exchange with bated breath. Olivia reached into her clutch, and pulled out a series of documents, proof of David and Claire's corruption. Bank records, signed deals, all leading back to illegal schemes they had been running under the guise of business. David's face drained of color as he realized what she held. "Where did you get those?" he hissed, stepping closer, panic seeping into his voice. Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Did you really think I'd let you ruin me and get away with it? You betrayed me, David. You too, Claire. But I'm no longer the helpless woman you thought I was." The room gasped. Murmurs erupted around them as the realization spread. Olivia had come to expose the truth. Claire, desperate to salvage the situation, stepped forward, her voice trembling with faux charm. "Olivia, darling, this isn't necessary. We can settle this privately." But Olivia cut her off. "No, Claire. You've already taken enough from me. Now it's time you both pay for it." With a swift motion, Olivia signaled to the waiting authorities. Lucas's connections had ensured that every piece of evidence had been gathered, and now officers descended upon the pair, handcuffing David and Claire. Their desperate pleas echoed through the hall, but no one came to their defense. As they were dragged away, Olivia stood tall, her heart racing with adrenaline. She had done it. She had taken back her life, her dignity, and her power. The crowd's whispers of disbelief transformed into admiration. When Lucas returned that evening, Olivia met him in the grand foyer. He knew from her expression that she had triumphed. "They won't be a problem anymore," she said, her voice steady. "It's over." Lucas gave a rare smile. "You were always stronger than they thought." In that moment, Olivia knew she had become someone new. No longer the woman betrayed and cast aside, but the woman who had taken control of her fate. The game wasn't over, but now she held all the cards.